Hello everybody and welcome back to the last episode of Halloweek for the year, which means that it is officially Halloween night. Oh shit. This is one of my favorite nights of the year. I actually just love the season in general. But tonight's the night that kids dress up in costumes and steal your candy, teenagers egg your house, and the realm between the living and the dead is just a little bit thinner. Who knows what could happen on Halloween night? I'm actually dressed up myself right now. If you can correctly guess who I am, then I will favorite your comment. Hint, it's from my favorite movie. But anyways, today's list is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. I'm gonna be doing worst to best albums and EPs for one of my all-time favorite bands, Harley Poe. This was originally supposed to be the very first worst to best that I was gonna do. However, I kind of decided to do a few more first to get the hang of it. But I just really wanted to do this one because nobody else has done it so far because they're not, that popular. And if you haven't heard them, you definitely should listen to them because they are phenomenal. I take a lot of inspiration from them, especially on my Halloween albums. But anyways, to talk a little bit about the band. For those of you who don't know about Harley Poe is a folk punk band formed in 2004 by frontman and songwriter Joe Whiteford from Kokomo, Indiana. They originally started as a Christian rock band named Calibretto 13, and then transitioned from songs about Jesus to songs about monsters, mutilation, rape, torture, horror, necrophilia, and demons in the new form of Harley Poe. Ironic, right? I've actually spoken to their frontman a couple times online, and he's a pretty cool dude. Joe, if you're watching this, I'm just gonna say this. None of these are bad albums. I love every single one of them. That being said, I do like some more than others. And another thing I gotta say before I start this list is the honorable mentions. These honorable mentions don't quite make the list for certain reasons. The first honorable mention is Dead by Dawn by Calibretto, because it basically is a Harley Poe album, but it technically isn't. Same band, different name. And this was the first CD that they made transitioning from Christian into horror folk music. But this CD is seriously killer even though it doesn't make the list. So give it a listen. My second honorable mention is 7 Inches of Hell. And I'm not counting this because this is a very, very exclusive album, if you even want to call it that. It's basically just like a bunch of singles released as separate 7-inch records. And because they're so rare, I've never actually heard them besides some snippets on YouTube. So I can't fully judge them. But anyways, let's get into the actual list.
And everybody knows that we all end up ashes or bones. And everybody fears, but some of us just couldn't care.
At number 10, we have 2015's Fallen Down. Now, again, this may be the worst in their discography in my opinion, but it is not a bad album at all. The songs are actually really good on it. We have some great new songs. I love the intro song Burden. Ashes or Bones is really beautiful. You have more heavy ones like Get Fucked. And then you also have a couple reoccurring songs on this one. Songs that not only came from earlier in the Harley Poe discography, but also in the Calibretto's discography as well. Don't Go Into the Woods being an example of one of these, which is probably my favorite song by Calibretto. American Psycho being another one. Misanthropy and the Full Moon being another reoccurring song. So yeah, these were definitely highlights on the record, especially again, Don't Go Into the Woods. I love that song. And then I think the album has a really good finisher as well. I Once Captured an Angel. Again, I think it's a really beautiful song. However, there's a couple good reasons why I think this is the worst Harley Poe album. So the first reason being that it's only Joe and his acoustic guitar. It's more like a Joe Whiteford solo album than an actual Harley Poe album. There's no banjos, there's no accordion, there's no drum, upright bass. It's just Joe strumming away on his acoustic guitar. Another thing that I don't like about this one compared to others is that it's not as passionately sang. Like, the singing is pretty good, but it's just a little bit monotone compared to some of the other records. And then thirdly, my biggest problem with this record is the production. This thing sounds like it was recorded with like one crappy microphone, maybe two, and just not mixed at all. Like, it doesn't sound... Like, I don't know if he was trying to go for that really lo-fi sound, but it's just not really fun to listen to because of it. It almost sounds as bad as if someone were to record an entire album on like a laptop microphone. So yeah, that's my biggest problem with it. But yeah, I think those three problems are just like the biggest problems, and it really does take away a lot from the record. So that's why I think 2015's Fallen Down is their worst record.
Cold and wet and dirty, you're looking mighty pretty, but I just don't understand why a dead girl's gotta be the one true love for me.
At number 9, we have 2006's The Dead and the Naked. Now, production-wise, this one is really good. In fact, probably one of the best they've released. And the live songs sound really good too, production-wise. So we really only get 4 new songs on this one, because there's 4 studio songs, and then there's 10 live songs, most of which have already appeared on other records. For studio songs, we get the first version of Suckers, which is pretty good, but I think I like the version that they released later a lot better, which I'll get into. Corrupting My Better Half is another studio version on this thing, and this is a reoccurring song from the previous record, which kind of takes away from it a little bit. And then for the third studio song, we get It's Only the End of the World, again the first version of this song, which again is pretty good, but I like the later version better. And number 4, we got the first version of Corpse Grindin' Man, which again just isn't the best version that they've released. Even though some of these are the original versions, I just don't like them as much as some other ones. I do like the unplugged sound they went for in this record though, again especially on the studio songs, but again the instruments are just kind of lacking just a tad. I think instrumentally Harley Poe has done much better. And then yeah, I don't really have too much to say about the live tracks, besides they sound really good production wise, performances are pretty good, but most of them are just reoccurring tracks from the last record. So yeah, again this one's definitely far from the best in their discography. I'm just gonna move on from this one.
I wanna help you, but I don't like what's in your head. Oh no, it'll be safer when you're dead.
At number 8, we have 2013's Man of God. So this is only a 4-song EP, but it's actually pretty damn good. The first single on it, Man of God, is one of their better singles in general. I think it's a really good song. The instrumental is a little bit wackier than usual. I love the vocal performance by Joe, the lyrics, the groove. I just love the song Man of God. I think it's really good. Then we go on to the second track, Phantom in Your Mind. Now what's interesting about this track is that it's probably the first Harley Poe song released that I can think of that really is Joe talking about his feelings directly. He didn't really do that as much before. If he did it in the form of comedy or horror or whatever, but this one's just straightforward, and we get a lot of this emotional venting later on in their discography as well, but this is the first instance of it, and I think the song's okay. It's not really what I'm looking for in a Harley Poe song though. And then for tracks 3 and 4, we have newer versions of the songs Olivia and Corpse Grindin' Man. Both songs we've heard done multiple times before, and these are honestly some of the weakest versions of them in my opinion. So yeah, I think really what makes this EP great is just the single Man of God. I think that's a really good one.
We're all in the ground, rich or poor, insane or sound. Don't you impose your laws on me, I'll make my own.
At number 7, we have 2017's Lost in Losing It. Now, I was really looking forward to this record, and I gotta say, I was just a tad bit let down. I think instrumentally it's pretty damn good. After Fallen Down came out, I was kind of worried, is it just Joe now? Is he the only part of the band that's still there? Are all the following albums going to be solo acoustic records? But no, this album actually kind of gave me faith again, because again, it's got the full band, and for the most part, the songs are pretty damn good. But it gets pretty repetitive. And what I mean by that is all the songs kind of have the same topic. Now, I understand Joe was going through a very tough time in his life when he made this. His wife cheated on him and left him, and other stuff. I forget what happened exactly, but I remember he was going through a tough time, and he kind of vented all of that into this record, which at times can make it very personal and very magical, I guess. However, like I said, it just gets a little bit repetitive with the themes. It's just song after song after song, songs about his wife or his ex-wife, which I don't want to step on, freedom of creativity and freedom of expression and just him putting his feelings into words or into music, but it's just not really what I want to listen to in a Harley Poe record. I want to listen to songs about monsters. I want to listen to funny songs about girls, not, sad ones. I just like the horror folk punk sound that Harley Poe usually does. And the only track on this album that kind of captures that is Demons. But all that being said, there are some really good takes on this one. The intro track, Persevere, I think is really good. It's just a really grand opening opening. I Wanna Die is probably one of my favorites on here. I love how like the lyrics are so like angry and depressing, but it's so like upbeat and happy sounding, which is something I think Harley Poe does very, very well. Meaningless is a really, really, really good song. Again, one of the better cuts on here. We Are All Human, a good one. And then another one that stands out is Without Your Love, which is the closing track. I think after all this, you know, talking about his crappy love life at the moment, and after, you know, song after song after song about it, I think this track really does do kind of a good job of wrapping it all up. It just sounds like a really grand and a really well put together finisher. And it just kind of sounds like he's saying like, I think I'm ready to move on now, which is like, again, a great finisher for the album. So yeah, this one was pretty good. Definitely far from my favorite. I hope they go back to making songs about, you know, horror themed stuff. But then again, I don't want to restrict Joe from making what his heart wants to make. So yeah, that's that.
My hopes and dreams, they are no more. I'm not a rich man, but blessed are the poor.
At number 6, we have 2012's B-Sides from the Basement. Now, I really, really like this album. One of the things I love about it is that it's a collection of B-sides, I believe, but it sounds like just one album. A lot of times on B-side records, you can hear the distinction, like, from one song to another, like, you can hear the difference. But this one just sounds like a very consistent record. Also, we just have some awesome new material on here. The first song, Herschel, is a really great storytelling song about a boy who goes into the woods and gets attacked by a monster and then is saved by this old man, but the old man just actually wanted the boy for himself. It's a great song. Then there's a song, Lewis, about a weird guy who likes eating hair. Again, a really good one. And then the third track, we have an early version of the song Ouija, and it's called Witchboard, which again is pretty good. I like the later version better. At number 4, we have Skin and Bones / Terror Trippin'. This one is like based on an old nursery rhyme that I remember hearing in elementary school and being scared shitless by it, about an old woman who lives in the graveyard and something happens. And then it's followed by just like a bunch of random weird horror sounds. So that was pretty cool. And then the 5th track on here is probably my favorite. This track has been done quite a few times, but this is my favorite version. It's called What's a Devil to Do? One of my favorite Harley Poe songs of all time. Then we get an early version of the Hearst song, which is okay. Then we get an instrumental of I Am the Living Dead, which is like, that just kind of feels unnecessary. And then the finisher is Old Woman Skin and Bones, which is another version of the earlier song Skin and Bones. But they're both really good. Yeah, I love this album. The artwork is really cool too. Moving on to number 5.
Baby, I come back for you.
Get away from me.
No, I missed you.
You're disgusting.
I won't stay back
Get
for you.
away.
No, just give me a kiss.
Your ear's falling off!
No, stop. Give me a kiss.
So nasty!
Give me a kiss, you bitch.
Get away! Get the fuck away!
Give me a kiss, I said.
At number 5, we have 2007's Dead Vampires EP. Now, this is my favorite EP by them. It has some seriously killer tracks on it. The first song is Olivia, which we've heard them do before, but I think this is the best version of the song. And then it's followed by, again, the one I mentioned for the last record, What's a Devil to Do? And this version is really, really good as well. I think the other one's better, but this one's still really good. And then the next song might just be my all-time favorite Harley Poe song ever. This is I Could Always Eat Your Brain, which again we have heard before on earlier records, but I think this is easily the best version that they've made. I just think the dialogue bits, like in between the verses and the choruses or whatever, is very, very comical and fun to listen to. And I just love the sing-along at the end. I think that's really great. And then the 4th track, we have, I think, the best version of the song Corpse Grindin' Man, which is just a funny song about necrophilia. We also get a live version of The Girl Had Syphilis, but yeah, that one's not that great, in my opinion. The recording just sounds like crap. Still kind of fun to listen to, though. Moving on to the big ones. Number 4.
I said I don't want you. I want your blood. I don't want you. I want your blood.
At number 4, we have 2012's Satan, Sex, and No Regrets. This is Harley Poe's most popular album, I believe. I'm sure a lot of people would probably go and say this is their best. Maybe. But I don't think so. I'd put it at number 4. This one definitely has some great classics on it. The opening song, Still Here, is a great opener. The second song is, again, one of my favorite songs by them, but it's not my favorite version. But the song is Everybody Knows My Name. Even though it's not my favorite version, it's a really, really good version. I'm a Killer is a pretty popular one. Just a fun song about, you know, being a murderous bastard. Then the song Father McKee is a brilliantly hilarious song about, you know, this kid singing about his priest or whatever that showed him sex.
In John 3:16, the gospel tells us how God so loved the world, he gave to us his only son.
And a Catholic priest raped him.
Okay, come on, guys.
Father McKee touched me more ways than one. I learned of sexuality through God's chosen son. Just seriously a great song. Then we get another version of Transvestites Can Be Cannibals Too, which actually I think is one of the low points on the record. It's still pretty good, but I think the original version is much, much better. Then we get the classic The Hearse song, which is Harley Poe's version of a song out of the book Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and it's probably their most popular song. It's the song that got me into them. It was on the Halloween subreddit, and I just instantly fell in love with them. The next song, Taxidermy Girl, is another fun song about a man whose girlfriend or wife or whatever is cheating on him, so he decides to kill her and stuff her. Fun! Then we get a version of a song called That Time of the Month, which is okay, but I like the original version a lot better. The song I Am the Living Dead is pretty good. Then we get my favorite version of their song Vampire's Night Out. I just love the version of that song on this record. It's really, really good. And then the last song, Ouija, is another very popular one. And it's a very good one, too. It's about, talking to spirits through a Ouija board and asking them to possess you to commit sins but not have it be your fault. I don't know, it's a pretty good song. So this record is just really, really good overall, but I do have some small problems with it. First problem is I think they're holding back a little bit instrumentally. Joe isn't belting as much as he does on some other records on this one. It's just kind of unplugged and a little more laid back. That being said, it does really work. I love the warm acoustic vibes this one has. Also, the production is really, really good. And then another thing is that a lot of the songs on this record that we've heard different versions of previously, I feel like the versions on this record are usually not as good. So that's what kind of puts this record a little bit further down the list for me. But it's still a really, really good one. Moving on to number 3.
No, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna talk shit. The Lord told me it was time. I've been faithful, yes I have. I put on the holy salve. It's time to hell. It's time to shine.
At number 3, we have one of my favorites, 2010's Wretched, Filthy, Ugly. Now this is probably Harley Poe's craziest record. Joe definitely goes all out on the vocals. His performances are absolutely wild on this thing, which I love. Instrumentally, this one's also very good. There's a very prominent, clean electric guitar sound throughout a lot of these songs, as well as a jazz organ, and again, it works really well. The first song, Gordon, is a great opener, another great storyteller. The second song, Terrible, is just... it's a very, very psychotic song. Third song, Kokomo, is pretty fun. And then we get the best version of the song, It's Only the End of the World. It's just a fun, sarcastic song about everyone dying, but it sounds very happy. Kind of like, hey, the world's gonna end, but let's just have a drink and have a good time. And then we get another crazy and amazing song called Suckers, which is about vampire blowjobs. You can see where that's going. And then we get another one of my all-time favorite Harley Poe songs, That Time of the Month. And I think the lyrics on it are just brilliant because it sounds like he'd be talking about, someone's period, but he's actually talking about werewolves. So that's pretty fun. And then we get my favorite version of Everybody Knows My Name, which is my second favorite Harley Poe song probably. I just love all the directions it goes in and just the craziness and the passion in his vocals, and just the lyrics are super, super well written. And then we get an untitled song, which is just instrumental, which kind of serves as a follow-up to the previous one, and I really like that one as well. It kind of has like a cool old school Halloween surf kind of vibe. It's really good. Then we get the song Maria, which is about, a man's wife is possessed and he doesn't want to have to kill her, but he does. Another great song. And then the finisher is amazing. Stick It to the Man is just super fast and super crazy. The lyrics are psychotic again. The performance is psychotic. It's just a very loud, very punky, awesome song. Great finisher. And then there's actually a hidden track in that one, which is later, which is just Joe singing really dumbly with a strumming acoustic guitar, and it's just pretty funny, honestly. So yeah, this is definitely the craziest Harley Poe record. If you're looking for some really fast, heavy, crazy, punky, folky horror vibes, then definitely listen to this one. It's totally out there. Moving on to number 2.
Because I've been lost for years, but I'm not coming back. But the guilt suffocates me and turns my soul black. So don't blame
At number 2, we have definitely one of my favorites, 2013's Pagan Holiday. Now, this is arguably their most experimental album. They go all out instrumentally. They got the acoustic guitar, they have the electric guitar, which they use distortion on in one part for the very first time. They got accordion, they got banjo, they got mandolin, they got drums. All the instruments are there, and it blends together so well. The arrangements on this one also, I think, they're arguably the best Harley Poe has ever done. So this one's only technically 6 tracks, but 2 of the tracks count as 3 tracks each. Like, they're connected, but they're technically 3 tracks. So this thing just opens like a bat out of hell with the song Vengeance the Demon, which just has these crazy heavy guitar sounds on this really fast punk drumming pattern. And then that perfectly transitions into the song Close the Door, a nice spooky acoustic folk kind of horror song, and that transitions into Outcrowd. But yeah, this intro track is really good, very catchy as well. Then we get one of their best singles they've ever released, the song Gorehound, which is just Joe's ode to horror movies, and it's just super catchy and super fast and just super fun to listen to and possibly sing along to. It's a really good one. Then we get actually a cover of the Halloween theme song, which is pretty good, but honestly, like, there's 2 covers on this album, and I think they're probably the lowest points, just because I'd like to hear more creativity, because like this thing is honestly probably their most creative album yet, and I would have liked to hear more of that instead of covers, but the covers are pretty good. But anyways, moving on. Then we get arguably the best song on the record, but it's technically 3 songs. So the first part of this 3-part song or whatever is called Pagan Holiday. It's just a nice song about Halloween, got some very spooky Halloween lyrics. Okay, so actually this song is just called Pagan Holiday, but it's divided into 3 different parts. So that first part that's very Halloweeny is called A Celebration. Then the second part is called Dormant, which is very oddly uplifting. I just love how loud this part of the song gets. Finally, the last part is called Revenge, which is about murder. It just all fits together super well. I highly recommend listening to it. Then we get a cover of the song Painted Black by the Rolling Stones, which is pretty good, but again, I'm not a huge fan of the covers because I like the original stuff more. And then finally, the 6th track is called Terror Trippin' 2, which is actually a sequel to the track Terror Trippin' from the B-Sides album. And it's just a bunch of weird random horror sounds mashed together, but it's kind of interesting and experimental. So yeah, I just love the direction they went in with this album, and I really hope they make more like it in the future. So finally, moving on to my favorite, and I think the best all-time Harley Poe album, number 1.
And when I was young, I wore my sister's clothes. I liked to paint my nails, and I had secrets no one knows.
At number 1, we have their debut, 2004's In the Dark or B-Movie Trash. Now, I just think this record is like the ideal Harley Poe. The songs are simple, they're comical, the themes are great. They're about either, you know, funny songs about girls or monsters. It's just a really great folk punk album. I just think this album is the perfect blend of folk, punk, horror, and comedy. Just exactly what I think Harley Poe should be about. Not only that, but this is the album that gave us so many timeless Harley Poe classics. The first track, I'm Coming For You, which is a song about someone coming to kill his wife because she's unfaithful, and it's just a funny song. Second track is the best version, in my opinion, of the song Transvestites Can Be Cannibals Too, which again is just a really funny horror song about a transvestite who's also a cannibal. It's a really good song. Third song, Vampire's Night Out. Not my favorite version, but still very good. Very catchy as well. Fourth song, Corrupting My Better Half, is just a song about, you know, a guy getting in a relationship with a girl and he's like a criminal and then she has to stick with him because they're dating now or whatever or something like that. But it's just a fun and it's a funny punk song. Then we get the song Prom Night, which is one of my favorite Harley Poe songs again. It's just again a comical song about, you know, this dude who has this crush on this girl, but this girl likes Johnny and not him, and she doesn't want to go to prom with him and she wants to go with Johnny. So what does he do? He does the logical thing and he blows up the school. Classic. Might not work as well in today's atmosphere, but then we get the first version of I Could Always Eat Your Brain. I think this version's pretty good, but again, I don't think it comes anywhere close to being as good as the Dead Vampires one. Then we get a funny song called The Girl Had Syphilis, which is just about this guy who decides to hook up with this girl who had syphilis, so that's nice. And then we get another very punky song called Homicidal Maniac, which is basically about this guy addressing all of his former classmates, telling like, hey, remember me? I'm a homicidal maniac now. Again, it's just a pretty fun song. Then we get Date with the Undead, which is a really good song about zombies and whatnot, and it's a good horror song. And then it finishes on the song The Uglies, which is a great closer about a dead lover coming back to see their old living lover. And it's just a really, really, really good finisher. I just think this is the ultimate Harley Poe album, in my opinion. Like, Pagan Holiday is definitely one of my favorites. It can almost be tied with this one, and in some ways it's actually a lot better. However, I just think, like I just said, this is like the ultimate Harley Poe album, and because of that, like, I just can't. It's got to be the best. Oh yeah, also you get 4 live tracks at the end, and the live tracks are really, really fun to listen to, because at this time he wasn't really that well known, and he's playing these songs that no one heard before, and just like when you hear him singing I'm Coming For You, which is the song about, you know, this guy going to kill his wife. What's so amazing about it is like he opens the song with like, this song's about my wife. So the audience expects this to be like this nice love song. And then as soon as he gets to the chorus, everyone just starts laughing hysterically because it's just so crazy and so morbid and unexpected. And it's just really, really fun to listen to. You don't really hear that reaction from them as much today because people already know the songs. But yeah, the live songs are pretty good. If I have one problem with this record, it's the production. The production is pretty poor, especially with the vocals. I think the vocals could be a lot louder, but it's still listenable. So yeah, that just about wraps up my Harley Poe worst to best list. And it also wraps up our first season of Halloweek. Probably gonna do it again next year. But yeah, go trick-or-treating if you're around that age. If not, go have some fun with your friends at a Halloween party or something. If you don't have friends, then watch some scary movies or listen to Harley Poe. But yeah, happy Halloween. Won't happen again for an entire 365 days. So yeah, goodbye.